Discover 11 incredible minutes of heartwarming insight that will transform your strength forever. Avery woke before dawn each day, the quiet of the world honing her senses to the struggle ahead. The light creeping through the curtains was barely a whisper, yet in the flickering shadows, she could see her dreams unfurling like the dance of a candle flame. Every day was a reminder of her responsibility, a single mother working 2 jobs to ensure her son, Tommy, would have the life he deserved. She clutched her coffee, letting the warmth seep into her bones as she thought about the day ahead. Waiting tables at the diner where the regulars treated her like family, and stocking shelves at the grocery store where she worked hard to keep shelves full. The diner buzzed with the sound of familiar chatter and sizzling bacon. "Hey, Avery," called Mrs. Thompson, a local grandmother with an ever-cheerful smile. Avery returned the greeting, her heart swelling with the community she loved, yet the weight of the factory looming over Hopewell hung like a gray cloud. The whispers of its impending closure filtered through the booth where the town's heart beat strongest. She noticed the worry etched in the faces of her loyal customers. It felt like an anchor pulling her down. Yet in spite of it all, she felt the flicker of hope. It was what propelled her forward. Her son, Tommy, was gifted, bright, creative, and yet quietly struggling with those unspoken expectations. She wanted him to soar, but it felt as though the weight of her sacrifices were burying him beneath layers of worry. Their sparse living room was filled with stacks of books, poetry scribbled on scraps of paper, his dreams poured out of him like ink. But Avery often wondered if, in fighting for his future, she was unintentionally smothering it. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the days turned into weeks, tensions grew between mother and son. A hurtful silence filled their home, the kind that thrummed in the air. Tommy, tired of living in the shadows of her tireless efforts, spoke words that stung like winter frost. Somewhere in the midst of his growing rebellion, Mr. Jenkins, a neighbor with a heart as vast as the plains, offered him mentorship. Tommy began to see colors beyond the gray of daily life, finding inspiration that leapt from pages into reality. His poetry transformed, blooming in unexpected ways. Hopewell prepared for a community event aimed at revitalizing their spirits. Avery spent hours setting up, the murmurs of gratitude from neighbors filling her with warmth. A glimmer of hope ignited in her heart, a collective spark that seemed to overshadow the factory's doom. But just as she started to believe they could navigate this storm together, an unexpected act of kindness caused her to confront her own unrecognized strength. In that moment, a hidden truth from her past lay waiting to unveil itself, a crux that shuffled her perception of sacrifice and worth, turning everything she'd fought for on its head. How could she keep it together when the very foundations she built began to tremble? Would the love she poured into her relationship with Tommy endure this test? The uncertainty loomed, and with it, the question that could reshape everything. In the desire to protect him, had she inadvertently let her own dreams flicker away? Avery could feel the weight of that question pressing down as she prepared for the night of the community event. A soft breeze flowed through the open windows, carrying the smell of freshly baked pies and hot coffee from the diner. She was surrounded by laughter and cheerful faces, but inside, she felt a storm brewing. The transformation was happening right in front of her. Tommy had grown so much, inspired by Mr. Jenkins and his newfound confidence. Yet beneath that pride, anxiety gnawed at her heart. What if his path diverged from hers? What if he left? As the sun began to dip below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of pink and orange, she caught sight of Tommy at the event, scribbling fiercely in his notepad. He seemed so alive, surrounded by fellow poets who shared his passion. She could hardly recognize the boy who once hesitated to share his words, who had feared the judgment that might extinguish his spark. A smile tugged at her lips, but a pang of loneliness mingled with that joy. She had sacrificed so much for him, for their future, and yet here he was, thriving, while she wrestled with shadows from her own past. "Mom, come check this out." Tommy's voice broke through her thoughts, and Avery turned to see him wave her over excitedly. He was standing next to a group of younger kids, their faces alight with joy as Tommy narrated the inspiration behind his latest poem. The way he spoke full of enthusiasm and purpose sent a thrill through her heart. There he was, her son, standing tall, and for a moment, everything felt right in the world. "Wow, Tommy," she encouraged, stepping closer with pride swelling in her chest. "I love how you're sharing your poem with everyone. You've really found your voice." He beamed, his cheeks flushing rosy. "Thanks, Mom. It feels good, you know? Like I can really connect with them." Avery nodded, wishing she could connect with him in the same way. There was a fleeting moment where their eyes locked, understanding crossing over, but it vanished almost as quickly as it came. Avery stepped back, watching the kids and Tommy become absorbed in their creative whirlwind, feeling increasingly like an outsider in her own life. Just then, Mrs. Thompson sidled up beside her. "He really something, isn't, she said, glancing at Tommy. "You must be so proud." "I am," Avery replied, her voice barely above a whisper. "Your hard work shines through in him, you know." Mrs. Thompson placed a hand on her shoulder. "But don't forget, dear, you have dreams too. They matter just as much." Avery swallowed hard, glancing away, a well of emotions rising: fear, regret, and an aching desire to reconnect with her own aspirations. Maybe Mrs. Thompson was right. Maybe for her son to fully take flight, she would need to rediscover what her own wings looked like. Before Avery could articulate an answer to herself, a sudden cheer erupted from the crowd, drawing her attention just as Tommy recited his poem with passion. As she listened, she yearned for a way back to her own dreams, to find her own voice, even if it felt buried under years of sacrifice. But just as the clapping rang out, Tommy's eyes found hers again, the spark of uncertainty overshadowing the joy. "Mom, can I share a surprise?" he asked earnestly, his body buzzing with excitement. "What surprise, honey?" she asked, curiosity mixing with concern. He swallowed hard, and in that moment, a new chapter began, one that would challenge everything she thought she knew about being a mother. What if there was something about his surprise that would change both their lives forever? Tommy's eyes sparkled with a mix of excitement and nervousness, as if he was standing on the precipice of revealing a precious secret. The energy around them pulsed, a living entity of anticipation and possibility. "I've been invited to perform at the County Poetry Festival next month," he blurted out, clenching his notepad like a prized possession. Avery's heart swelled. "That's amazing, Tommy." The words slipped from her mouth before she could think them through. She meant it. He had worked hard, pouring his heart into those pages. Then, like a stone dropped into still water, the ripples of unease spread. "But the county festival? That's a big deal." "Yeah," he laughed, the joy mingling with apprehension. "I know, but it's not just about the performance. I want to enter the competition too." Her breath caught. Competing was one thing, something she knew he had the talent for. But stepping into that spotlight, it felt monumental. Avery pictured the crowded auditorium, the spotlight shining on him, all eyes fixated in judgment. "Have you thought it through? I mean, it's a big step." Tommy's smile faltered, insecurity flickering beneath the surface. "I wouldn't have asked if I wasn't ready, Mom. I've been practicing, and Mr. Jenkins thinks I should go for it." Flashes of doubt danced in her mind. The weight of expectations loomed large, not just his, but hers too. He was taking chances, stretching himself beyond what he had ever imagined. What if he fell? What if he failed? Wouldn't it be better to just enjoy it? Move at your own pace? She asked, her voice softer now, a thread of concern running underneath. "Mom," he replied quietly, an intensity in his gaze, "I don't want to hold back anymore. I want to go all in, just like you taught me." That hit hard. All those years she had poured her hopes into him, her dreams buried under layers of responsibility. What had she taught him, really? To fear failure? To play it safe? Tears pricked the corners of her eyes. "I don't want to lose you, Tommy," she admitted, her heart aching. "What if this leads you somewhere far away from me?" His expression softened, and he stepped closer, his warmth breaking through the chill of her anxiety. "You want to lose me, Mom. This is about me finding my voice, just like you need to find yours. They shouldn't have to be separate," she whispered, her heart racing. "The festival, His dreams, it was all opening up before her. So, will you help me prepare? Tommy asked, injecting a lightness into the moment, his enthusiasm infectious. Avery felt a slow flame of determination flicker to life inside her. Of course I will. Maybe helping him chase his dreams would inspire her to chase her own, too. As the crowd buzzed with excitement around them, something shifted. The space between their hearts felt less like a chasm and more like fertile ground for possibilities. But just then, a voice pierced the air, a familiar one. Tommy. It was Mr. Jenkins, eyes twinkling with admiration. You have to tell me all about this performance. I want to be there. Avery watched as Tommy turned to Mr. Jenkins, elation brightening his face again. Amongst the clinking dishes and murmurs of the crowd, a thought slipped into her mind. What if this was the beginning of something more? Just as she thought about embracing her own aspirations alongside him, another voice called from behind, a whisper of trouble. Avery, she turned. It was just the spark she needed, yet often overlooked. She had to confront her past and figure out what it meant for their future. What was lurking behind that soft voice? And as she gripped Tommy's hand firmly, the pulse of change began to thrum deep within her. What awaited them both was a simultaneous leap into the unknown, and she couldn't help but wonder what else would emerge from the shadows. Avery turned to face the source of the voice, her heart racing. It was Sarah, a ghost from her past. Sarah had once been a close friend, someone who had shared dreams and laughter over cups of coffee in the corner cafe. But years had passed, and life had drawn them apart in ways that still stung. Avery, Sarah said again, desperation tangled in her tone. I need to talk to you. Caught off guard, Avery glanced at Tommy. He was radiant as he engaged in animated conversation with Mr. Jenkins. A part of her wanted to turn back to that familiar warmth, the proud excitement in her son's expression, but another part felt the pull of unfinished business. Okay, Sarah, she replied, bracing herself. What is going on? Can we step outside? Sarah's eyes darted back toward Tommy, then lowered, avoiding the curiosity of the crowd. Avery nodded, and they made their way to a quieter corner, where the noise of the festival faded into the background. Once outside, the cool evening air wrapped around them, but the tension between them thickened the atmosphere. I know it's been years, but Sarah hesitated, drawing in a deep breath. I messed up. I should have reached out sooner. I just didn't know how. Avery crossed her arms, a mixture of confusion and caution lacing her thoughts. How can I trust anything you say now? I understand why you'd feel that way, Sarah continued, her voice wavering. But things have changed for me too, Avery. I'm not the same person I was. I've been through my own struggles. When I saw you with Tommy just now, it hit me. I want to reconnect. It's going to take more than just wanting, you know, Avery replied, her voice barely above a whisper. The memories flooded in, the laughter, the betrayal, they all intermingled. Just listen, please. I've seen what you and Tommy are doing. I'm proud of you both. Last year was rough. My sister passed away, and I realized how vital it is to hold on to the people we care about. Tears glistened in her eyes. I don't want my mistakes to keep me from being part of your lives anymore. I need to make things right. Avery felt the weight of those words hang in the air. She longed to trust again, but what if the connection they once had was a fleeting shadow? Sarah, it's not just about forgiveness, she said softly. It's about moving forward. It's about my relationship with Tommy too. He.S. just starting to find his voice. Where does that leave us if you come back? That's the thing, Sarah replied. Maybe I can support him, help him however I can. I want to be there for you both this time. Avery's heart tugged in two directions. Could she really let someone back in? But the thought of helping Tommy realize his dreams, surrounded by a community, could that be a path, even if it was steeped in uncertainties? We'll see, Avery finally said, needling her own hopes and fears. But only if you're serious about this. I want to go through old wounds again. Absolutely, Sarah nodded earnestly, her sincerity palpable. I'll prove it to you. Just give me a chance. As they spoke, a laugh burst from Tommy, reminiscent of days when laughter had effortlessly flowed between her and Sarah. That innocent, carefree sound cracked open a door inside her just a little. But just then, Tommy came bounding over, a spark in his eye. What are you guys talking about? He asked, his enthusiasm radiating like sunlight. Avery exchanged a glance with Sarah, a silent acknowledgement of the road stretched ahead. Just catching up, she said with a careful smile. Tommy's smile widened. Let us head back inside. The open mic is starting soon. I can't wait to read my poem. As they moved back into the buzzing crowd, a rush of emotions surged within Avery. She felt the chance for healing mingle with the excitement of Tommy's debut. But the question nagged at her, could she really open herself and her life again to an old friend? What if this was just the beginning of a path she never thought she would take? What if Sarah's return would change everything once more? With her heart pounding, Avery couldn't shake the feeling that they were standing at the edge of something significant, even monumental. As the lights twinkled and the familiar rhythm of the evening surrounded them, she whispered a silent plea for strength. And just as the first performer stepped onto the stage, heading into the spotlight, another voice broke through the crowd. Is anyone ready for the real show to begin? Avery caught her breath. Who could it be? And what would it mean for their journey ahead? The voice cut through the air like a bolt of electricity, pulling Avery from her swirling thoughts. She instinctively turned her head toward the sound, her heart still racing. The crowd shifted, and a tall figure emerged from the shadows. It was Rob, the charismatic local poet known for his raw performances that often left listeners breathless. He had a way of weaving emotions into words that felt like they cut straight to the core of every person who dared to listen. Is anyone ready for the real show to begin? He called again, his confident smile lighting up his face. Tommy's eyes sparkled with anticipation. That's Rob. He's incredible. Avery felt a flutter of excitement mixed with anxiety. This was Tommy's moment, but the unexpected appearance of Rob hung heavy in the air. Memories of open mic nights long gone suddenly rushed back, nights spent with Sarah and the camaraderie of chasing dreams. But Sarah was standing close, her features a mask of determination and hope. This could be good for him, she murmured, as if sensing the turmoil in Avery's heart. Avery couldn't decide if she wanted to feel protective of Tommy or hopeful for the chance to rebuild her own fractured history with Sarah. Let us focus on Tommy, she said firmly, trying to push her doubts aside. They stepped closer to the stage, where a small crowd began to gather, eager for inspiration. Lights twinkled overhead, creating a cozy atmosphere that felt almost intimate. Avery could see Tommy, beaming with pride, chest puffed out as he adjusted the paper in his hands. Here we go, he said, a hint of nervous energy sparking in his voice as he approached the microphone. That Avery's heart lurched. It wasn't just about the words he'd crafted, but everything they represented, the growth he had shown, the vulnerability he was about to share. As Tommy began to read, his voice clear and confident, the world around them faded. She watched him, captivated. Each line he recited held a piece of his heart, a glimpse into his dreams. The crowd responded, a chorus of encouragement swelling with every stanza. But as Tommy continued, glancing occasionally toward them, Avery felt Sarah's presence beside her, a gentle reminder of the past and a potential bridge to the future. With every word spoken, the connection between them deepened. What if Tommy's moment was serving as a catalyst, something that could heal the rift and allow growth for all three of them? And then it hit her. Could Sarah really be a part of their lives again? What if this was the turning point? The acceptance she once thought impossible felt suddenly within reach, but the fear of repeating history also loomed large. Mom, did you hear that? Tommy exclaimed as he concluded, the roar of applause engulfing him. What did you think? Avery forced a smile. You were amazing, sweetheart. I'm so proud of you. Tommy beamed. In that moment, the worries pushed aside, one truth emerged. Tommy was shining, and whatever happened next, be it with Sarah or without, she would always protect that light. Just then, before they could fully transition from the stage enthusiasm, a familiar voice piped up from the back of the crowd. Let us hear from the other talented young voices tonight. The crowd cheered again, but this time, a deep feeling settled in Avery's chest. It was a moment for connection, for community, for everyone to show their strength and vulnerability. As the laughter and chatter enveloped them, Avery caught Sarah's eye. In that shared glance, something unspoken passed between them. Could they really build something new here, together? What awaited them beyond this festival? Only time would tell, but as Tommy held tightly to Avery's hand, she knew they were all part of a journey that had just begun. Before they had the chance to contemplate their next steps, another voice interrupted the scene. Hey, is anyone ready to share their story next? The stage is open. The question hung in the air like an invitation, leaving Avery wondering just how many stories were waiting to be told and what those stories would mean for them all. The moment lingered, thick with anticipation, as multiple voices chimed in, each eager to share their unique story. The air felt electric, charged with possibilities. Avery glanced around, seeing faces in the crowd brimming with excitement. Some were nervous, others just flat out ready to unburden their hearts. Tommy tugged at her hand, gaze fixed firmly on the stage. Can I go again?" he asked, his voice bubbling over with eagerness. It was in that moment Avery saw everything: the longing for acceptance, the need to express himself, all the dreams he parked away during too many silent days. "Of course, you can, buddy," she whispered, filled with an unexpected warmth. Before she could fully process his request, Tommy bounded toward the stage again, his youthful confidence ignited by the encouragement from the earlier performance. The crowd clapped their hands, welcoming him back, and it made Avery's heart swell that as Tommy approached the mic. She glanced at Sarah, silently reliving the nights they both shared dreams as young poets. Would it be just as kindled for them too? Could they shake off the dust of the past? Just then, she noticed Sarah stepping forward, grabbing the edge of the stage and peering up at Tommy with a mixture of pride and hope on her face. For a fleeting second, Avery felt a surge of protectiveness. It was so complicated, this dance they were doing. Yet here they were, battling the silence of years apart. "Hey, everyone," Tommy began again, his voice steady and unwavering. "I wanted to share another piece. This one is about hope, about never giving up." The simplicity of his intent shattered the anxiety in Avery's heart. This was more than poetry. It was a bridge, an open invitation on which they could rebuild what was lost. As his words flowed, his rhythm became infectious, and laughter peppered through the crowd. Tommy created vibrant images of resilience, stories of strength in vulnerability, and slowly, with every line, he made the space feel warmer, cozier, a true tapestry of lives intertwined. Avery's thoughts tumbled into a whirlwind, reflecting on her own past, on the mistakes she made. The distance formed with Sarah. She could almost hear Sarah's laughter, lighter than air, threading through their shared memories. What if that wasn't just a dream left behind? What if it was a treasured possibility painted in front of her, waiting to be embraced? As Tommy wrapped up with a hopeful flourish, the waves of applause washed over him once more, and the pride radiating from Avery nearly brought her to tears. She felt a bubbling urgency to leap into this moment, to connect, to communicate. "Can I?" She found herself whispering to Sarah, the words tumbling out before she could think better of it. "Can I go next?" Sarah's eyes widened with surprise, but also something deeper: encouragement. "Absolutely." The unspoken words between them created a bond of acceptance. Breathless, Avery stepped up onto the stage, mind racing with stories of her own. The spotlight felt warm, and as she adjusted the mic, her heart raced not from anxiety, but with newfound purpose. The stories that wanted to spill out were not about what hurt, but about healing. "Hi, everyone. I'm Avery, and today I want to talk about..." But just as she was about to reveal her truth, a rustling behind her interrupted the moment. A different voice broke through the evening's magic. "Let us change the program. We have an unexpected guest tonight." The crowd turned as murmurs swept through, leaving Avery's thoughts hanging like delicate strands. Who was it? What would happen next? The stage was set for yet another story, and as her heart raced once more, she wondered if this unexpected guest would lead them deeper into a night of transformation. Avery's heart skipped as she turned to see the source of the disruption. The crowd buzzed with intrigue, a collective breath held in anticipation. The energy morphed, swirling in a concoction of hope and curiosity, and Avery felt an electric thrill surge through her, mingling with her earlier nerves. Then, as if on cue, the figure stepped into the light. It was Lena, a local artist known for her colorful murals that brightened the town's streets. A gasp rippled through the audience, followed by cheers of recognition. Lena was a wild spirit, a beacon of individuality. Avery's pulse quickened. She had admired Lena's boldness since they were kids. "Sorry to interrupt, everyone," Lena called out, her voice ringing clear and vibrant. but I couldn't let such a beautiful night go by without sharing a little something of my own. After all, isn't art all about connection? Avery felt a strange twist inside. It was envy mixed with admiration. Lena had always been the kind of person who gathered a following, whose presence filled rooms even before she spoke. And now, here she was stealing her moment. But as the crowd began to chant Lena's name, that flutter of jealousy softened, replaced by something else. Apple pie and summer nights, they had all enjoyed those things together once. Today, I want to share a story about resilience, Lena declared. The kind we all need from time to time. A simple statement, yet it held weight. Avery's chest tightened with a sense of gratitude. How many people had connected through their stories tonight already? Lena's voice continued, weaving in stories of her struggles with vulnerability and heartbreak. The crowd listened, rapt, and Avery couldn't help but feel the room swell with empathy in that moment. Avery found herself lost in the meaning of it all. She thought of Tommy, standing a few steps back, his eyes wide with wonder. Then, she thought of Sarah. She could sense her friend beside her, smiling softly, completely in tune with the vibe of the evening. This was a space overflowing with healing, a simple gathering revealing raw truths and exploding with potential connections. Lena's words painted vibrant images, and the more she spoke, the more the audience felt a collective buoyancy rising within. Something was shifting, a kind of transformation happening, not just for her, but for everyone in the room, increasingly tangible and profound. As Lena wrapped up her story with an infectious grin, the applause rocked through the crowd like a tsunami. Excitement crackled in every corner, yet Avery noticed the perplexing mix of emotions swirling within her. She longed to share her own journey, but how could she stand alongside such fierce vulnerability? With newfound courage, she stepped forward, nearing the mic again. "Thank you, Lena. That was amazing." But before she could complete her thought, a gentle hand slipped into hers. It was Sarah, giving her an encouraging squeeze. The reassurance flooded Avery with calm. "Your story matters too," Sarah seemed to whisper. She took a deep breath and squared her shoulders. "I want to talk about what it means to step out of the shadows, about finding courage when it feels like we're all alone." The room quieted, and anticipation hung thick again, but this time, it felt different. It was an invitation, a gathering roar behind her, cheering her on. Just as she was about to dive into her story, a second interruption jolted through the air. "Hold on. Wait. I want to say something." Avery's heart sank in her chest, ready to brace for yet another unexpected twist. This time, it was a familiar face Avery hadn't seen in years. The crowd turned once more, eyes wide with curiosity. Would this unexpected visitor upend her moment again, or could they embrace the chaos that had made their stories entwined? Avery squinted into the crowd, her heart racing as the figure stepped closer. The warm glow from the lights illuminated familiar features that had once felt so close, now lost in a sea of time and silence. It was Max, her childhood best friend, the one person who had understood her without words. The surprise on his face mirrored her own disbelief. They had drifted apart in high school, but now, here he stood, reappearing like a missing puzzle piece. "Max," she called, disbelief lacing her voice. "What are you doing here?" His eyes sparkled, and he flashed that easy smile that had once made her feel invincible. "Avery, I just heard about this gathering. I needed to be here." The crowd buzzed with excitement, whispers cascading like waves. Would he join Lena or her, taking the spotlight that Avery longed to embrace? For a moment, she felt the ground shift beneath her feet, unsure of how to hold her own when the past crashed back into her present. I can't believe it's you," she stuttered, her fingers trembling. "Believe it," Max replied, stepping closer. "I've missed you." Avery's heart flipped. Awash with emotions, she could feel old insecurities bubbling to the surface. But there was also a sense of comfort, the lightness of shared memories, summer nights spent laughing, dreams whispered in the dark. Max took a step towards the microphone, glancing over at Lena before shifting back to Avery. "I wanted to support you tonight. I remember how hard it was for you to speak up. Back then, you were the voice in our little group. You made us believe we could shine. I think you've got something incredible to share, just like Lena." Avery's breath caught. His faith in her reignited a spark of resolve. She turned, taking in Lena's supportive grin, Sarah's nodding head, and Tommy's eager eyes. All these people came together tonight, weaving a tapestry of stories that made their struggles lighter just by sharing them. Okay, Avery said, her voice gaining strength. If you're here, then let us do this together, Max. Let us share. Unexpectedly, the entire room erupted with enthusiasm at the thought of this reunion, a reunion not just between two friends, but of an entire community. They were hungry for stories and connection. As she approached the microphone with Max, their old camaraderie eased Avery's tension. She felt alive, ready to illuminate the darkness that had lingered too long in her heart. Before she could speak, Max held up a hand and grinned. Why don't we tell them about that time we got lost on the way to the art festival? The crowd laughed, and suddenly, the air felt lighter. Avery jumped in, continuing his story, and laughter filled the space like music, softening the weight of her insecurities. I thought we were heading to the festival, but we ended up nearly in the next town, she exclaimed, recalling every misstep with delight. Their stories intertwined effortlessly, a blend of joy and lightheartedness, weaving in threads of nostalgia that bridged years apart. But as the laughter slowed, Avery felt the time was ripe to bring her real story to the surface. She glanced at Max, courage swelling inside her. Maybe we should tell them about our biggest fears, about how we found strength even when we stumbled, she suggested, her voice steady with determination. As she prepared to embrace vulnerability at last, she glanced at the crowd and felt ready to truly connect. But just then, another unexpected voice broke through. Wait, I have something important to share too. Who was it now? And how would this new twist affect the moment she was finally ready to step into her light? Avery turned, her heart racing again, only this time with uncertainty as she waited to see who would speak. The crowd hushed, every pair of eyes fixed on the source of the interruption. A girl from the back stepped forward, her face flushed with nerves but determination sparking in her eyes. I'm Riley, she exclaimed, her voice cutting through the murmurs. I just wanted to say something before you dive deeper into your story. Avery raised an eyebrow, intrigued but cautious. Riley was someone Avery vaguely recognized from school, but they had never talked. I've been listening to you all, Riley continued, glancing between Max and Avery. And honestly, I'm terrified to share my own story, but this gathering, it's changing something in me. She took a breath, as if collecting her thoughts. I'm always the one behind the scenes, cheering for everyone else to shine, and I want to tell you why. Avery felt a strange kinship with her. The pressure of vulnerability seemed to radiate through Riley, an echo of her own struggles. I lost my dad last year, Riley said, her voice wavering but gaining strength. He was my biggest supporter. Without him, I feel lost, like I don't have a voice anymore. A soft murmur of sympathy rippled through the crowd, and Avery's heart ached for Riley. She blinked back her own tears as memories of loss swirled in her mind. Riley continued, gaining momentum. I used to think if I shared my feelings, I'd somehow let him down or betray his memory. But I see you all. You're not afraid to be real, and it makes me want to try. She glanced up, meeting each gaze in the room. So, can I just say, I'm terrified, but I want to share my story too? Avery nodded, moving closer to her. Of course, Riley. We're all here for you. The excitement that had filled the room moments ago transformed into a rare quietude, reverberating with understanding and shared sorrow. With Riley's confession came an unexpected wave of encouragement washing over the gathering. Max chimed in, You're not alone, Riley. We all have our battles. And we're all here, ready to listen. The crowd responded with supportive murmurs, nodding heads, smiles breaking through anxious expressions. Avery felt a rush of gratitude for Max and the connections that were being forged. It was no longer just her moment, it was everyone's. Maybe we can take turns, she suggested, her voice steady now, feeling empowered by Riley's bravery. We all have fears and stories to share. Let us create a space for everyone. Riley beamed, and the energy shifted again. People began to speak, hesitant at first, but one by one, sharing snippets of their lives, their struggles, their hopes. The spotlight shifted, and Avery stood in awe as voices filled the room, threading together a tapestry of pain and joy, resilience and laughter. Max leaned in closer. See, Avery, look at how everyone is connecting. This is what we wanted. But just as the atmosphere blossomed, a shadow flickered across the crowd. A familiar face appeared at the edge of the gathering, eyes wide but filled with a mix of recognition and something darker. Avery's heart skipped again, this time for an entirely different reason. "Is that?" she whispered to Max, her voice barely a murmur. "What's wrong?" he asked, brow furrowing. Avery couldn't tear her gaze away. Who was this person, and what would happen next? The crowd had momentarily paused, every face now directed toward the newcomer. Whatever was about to unfold could change everything. The air grew thick with anticipation as Avery's heart raced. She felt the familiar swell of anxiety grip her chest, and yet, an understanding that something important was unfolding washed over her. Stepping into the light was Jamie, the ghost of her past. A friend turned adversary. Jamie had once been part of Avery's circle of poets, someone she had trusted not just with her words, but with her heart. But after a hurtful betrayal, the rift between them had shattered their bond. Jamie held her gaze now, simmering with an emotion Avery couldn't quite decipher. With a flicker of vulnerability, Jamie stepped closer. "You don't recognize me, do you?" Jamie's voice wavered slightly, vulnerability breaking through the tough exterior. "Avery, I came tonight because I needed to see you again. I didn't know how much I missed us until now." Avery felt the crowd shift. Some took a step back while others leaned in, eager for the exchange. It was all too surreal. Just months before, the mention of Jamie's name would make her heart constrict with bitterness. Now, facing her again felt both alarming and strangely reminiscent of a dream long buried. "It's been a long time," Avery finally replied, her voice firm but tinged with hesitation, memories flashing like lightning. "What do you want, Jamie?" The sincerity in Jamie's eyes steadied the tumult inside Avery. "I want to apologize. I was young and impulsive. I hurt you, and I can't change the past. But tonight, seeing Tommy and this community, I realized how badly I want to reconnect." The honesty in those words sliced through the tension, and the murmurs of the crowd faded into quiet understanding. There was an opportunity, scary yet essential, a chance for forgiveness and growth. "It's not easy for me to forget," Avery admitted, fighting back tears. "But maybe it's time to open the door." For a heartbeat, the world around her felt suspended, and with that admission, something powerful sparked in the air. Jamie nodded, warmth creeping into her expression. "I've changed, Avery. I wish I could have been there for you and Tommy. This night feels so alive, so hopeful. I want to be a part of it of you." Avery felt her heart tug toward the possibility of reconciliation. Their moment of tension evaporated, replaced by the longing for connection all around them. "Do you really mean it?" she asked, vulnerability surfacing. "I do. I see how much Tommy has grown, and it inspires me. I want to support his voice. I want to support you if you'll let me." As the crowd began to murmur in encouragement, Avery turned, searching for Tommy's face amidst the sea of familiar smiles. He looked radiant, his bright eyes studying the scene, absorbing the dichotomy of emotions filling the air. "Mom, you should do it," Tommy called out, his voice ringing clear. "If she wants to be part of this, let her. Everyone deserves a second chance." His words struck deeply, igniting a spark of courage in Avery's heart. Could she really allow Jamie back in? What would it mean for their journey ahead? As space opened for healing and forgiveness, she felt the warmth of the community enveloping them all. "Let us do this together," Avery said finally, a smile breaking through the fear. "But it means we'll both have to be honest about where we've been and what we want moving forward." With that simple agreement, Jamie nodded, eyes brimming with relief. The crowd erupted into applause, a wave of acceptance cascading through everyone present. The energy shifted again, now amplified with renewed purpose. One by one, more voices rose, stories unfolding, hearts connecting in ways that felt like a warm embrace. Avery, Jamie, Tommy, and Sarah formed a circle, enabling a tapestry of healing that intertwined their lives, hopes, and experiences. And in the middle of it all, Avery felt the mask she had worn slip away. The burdens of sacrifice and fear dissolved, replaced by a startling realization. Lifting others allowed her to lift herself. Encouraging her son, rediscovering her dreams, and allowing Jamie back into her life intertwined seamlessly, creating a narrative that celebrated growth and resilience. As the night unfolded, Laughter echoed, tears of joy were shared, and hearts fused together not just in pain but in purpose, forging a community that would rise above their struggles. In that intoxicating atmosphere, Avery vowed that this was just the beginning. Together, they could create a new story, one filled with understanding, support, and love. And finally, in that sisterly embrace of night, Avery smiled brightly, no longer alone, but surrounded by the power of unity and transformation. The last performance concluded and waves of applause echoed off the walls. Avery felt a warmth inside, radiating hope and finality. They were home, and within that warmth, she found what she had been searching for all along: belonging. That if you found inspiration in this tale, you need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help others discover this transformation. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to hear this story and find their own paths to healing. Your engagement makes all the difference. Let us keep building this community together.